Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Welcome to another reading session of the Krishna book. We had a very lovely weekend with the retreat organized by our local temple, ISKCON Birmingham. All the lovely lectures and classes and kirtans are there, shared on the group, so you can enjoy them and relish them in your own time. We finished last week that Krishna, when he was bound by Mother Yashoda with the ropes, finally, because she had nearly given up at that time, but Krishna, being Krishna, was merciful to her and he gave in the moment, and Mother Yashoda was able to bound Krishna with the ropes. But afterwards Krishna thought that this has been very easy for the mother, so let me indulge in something even mischievous. And looking at the two trees in the courtyard, he started inching away towards them. And those two trees, as we were discussing, were none other than the two sons of Kuber, Manigriva and Nalakuvara. And they were stuck in the bodies of trees because of their past misdeeds, and they were cursed by Narad Rishi. But then again, when an exalted person curses you, there is always good waiting on the other side for you. And now Krishna is about to release these two demigods, Nalakuvara and Manigriva. So let's begin our reading. Although child Krishna was bound up to the wooden mortar, he began to crawl toward the twin trees in order to fulfill the prophecy of his great devotee, Narad. Lord Krishna knew that Narad was his great devotee, and the trees standing before him as twin Arjun trees were actually the sons of Kuber. I must now fulfill the words of my great devotee, Narad, he thought. Then he proceeded through the passage between the two trees. Although he was able to pass through the passage, the large wooden mortar stuck horizontally between the trees. Taking advantage of this, with great strength, Lord Krishna began to pull the rope, which was tied to the mortar. As soon as he pulled, the two trees, with all their branches and limbs, fell down with a great sound. Out of the broken fallen trees came out two great personalities, shining like blazing fire, all sides illuminated, and became beautiful by their presence. The two purified personalities immediately came before child Krishna and bowed down to offer their respects and prayers in the following words. Dear Lord Krishna, you are the original personality of the Godhead, master of all mystic powers. Learned Brahmanas know very well that this cosmic manifestation is an expansion of your potencies, which are sometimes manifest and sometimes unmanifest. You are the original provider of the life, body and senses of all living entities. You are the eternal God, Lord Vishnu, who is all-pervading, the imperishable controller of everything, and you are eternal time. You are the original source of the cosmic manifestation, which is acting under the spell of the three modes of material nature. Goodness, passion, and ignorance. You are living as a supersoul in all the multi-forms of living entities, and you know very well that is what is going on within their bodies and minds. Therefore, you are the supreme director of all activities of all living entities. But although you are in the midst of everything which is under the spell of the material modes of nature, you are not affected by such contaminated qualities. No one under the jurisdiction of the material modes can understand your transcendental qualities, which existed before the creation. Therefore, you are called the Supreme Transcendence. Let us offer our respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of you, Lord Vasudev, the Supreme Brahman, who are always glorified by your personal internal potencies. In this material world, you make yourself known only by your different incarnations. Although you assume different types of bodies, these bodies are not part of the material creation. They are always full of transcendental potencies of unlimited opulence, strength, beauty, fame, wisdom, and renunciation. In the material existence, there is a difference between the body and the owner of the body. But because you appear in your original spiritual body, there is no such difference for you. When you appear, your uncommon activities indicate that you are the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Such uncommon activities are not possible for anyone in the material existence. You, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, cause the birth and death as well as the liberation of the living entities, and you are full with all your plenary expansions. You can bestow on everyone all kinds of benedictions. O Lord, O source of all auspiciousness and goodness, we offer our respectful obeisances unto you. You are the all-pervading Supreme Personality of Godhead, the supreme source of peace and the Supreme Personality in the dynasty of King Yadu. O Lord, our Father, known as Kuber, the demigod is your servant. Similarly, the great sage Narad is also your servitor. Sorry, I lost my lines there. Is also your servitor. And only by thy grace have we been able to see you personally. We therefore pray that we may always be engaged in your transcendental loving service by speaking only about your glories and hearing about your transcendental activities. May our hands and other limbs be engaged in your service and our minds always be concentrated at your lotus feet and our heads always bowed down before the all-pervading universal form of your lordship. When the demigods Nalakuvara and Manigriva finished their prayers, the child, Lord Krishna, the master and proprietor of Gokul, bound to the wooden grinding mortar by the ropes of Yashoda, smiled and said, "It was already known to me that my great devotee Narad Muni had shown his causeless mercy by saving you from the abominable condition of pride due to possessing extraordinary beauty and opulence in a family of demigods. He has saved you from gliding down into the lowest condition of hellish life. All these facts are already known to me. You are very fortunate because not only were you cursed by him, but you had the opportunity to see him. If someone is able by chance to see face to face a great saintly person like Narad, who is always serene and merciful to everyone, then immediately that conditioned soul becomes liberated. This is exactly like being situated in the full light of the sun. There cannot be any visionary impediment. Therefore, O Nalakuvara and Manigriva, your lives have now become successful because you have developed ecstatic love for me. This is your last birth within the material existence. Now you can go back to your father's residence in the heavenly planets, and by remaining in the attitude of devotional service, you will be liberated in this very life." After this, the demigods circumambulated the Lord many times and bowed down before him again and again, and thus they left. The Lord remained bound up with ropes to the grinding mortar. Thus ends the Bhakti Vedanta purport of the 10th chapter of Krishna, the Deliverance of Nalakuvara and Manigriva. So now we start our chapter 11, Killing of the Demons, Vatasur and Bakasur. When the twin Arjuna trees fell to the ground, making a sound like the falling of thunderbolts, all the inhabitants of Gokul, including Nanda Maharaj, immediately came to the spot. They were very much astonished to see how the two great trees had suddenly fallen. Because they could not find no reason for their falling down, they were puzzled. When they saw child Krishna bound up to the wooden mortar by the ropes of Mother Yashoda, they thought that it must have been caused by some demon. Otherwise, how was it possible? At the same time, they were very much perturbed because such uncommon incidents were always happening to child Krishna. While the cowherd men were thus contemplating the little children who were playing, they informed the men that the trees had fallen because Krishna had pulled the wooden mortar with the rope binding them. Krishna came in between the two trees, they explained, and the wooden mortar was topsy-turvied and stuck in between the trees. Krishna pulled the rope and the trees fell down. When the trees fell down, two very dazzling men came out of the trees and they said something to Krishna. Most of the cowherd men did not believe the statement of the children. They could not believe that such things were at all possible. Some of the men, however, believed them and told Nand Maharaj, "Your child is different from the other children. He just might have done it." Nanda Maharaj smiled to hear about the extraordinary abilities of his son. He came forward and untied the knot just to free his wonderful child. After being freed by Nanda Maharaj, Krishna was taken unto the laps of the elder gopis. They took him away to the courtyard of the house and began to clap, praising his wonderful activities. Krishna danced along with their clapping just like any ordinary child. The Supreme Lord Krishna, being completely controlled by the gopis, sang and danced just like a puppet in their hands. Sometimes Mother Yashoda used to ask Krishna to bring her wooden plank for sitting. Although the wooden plank was too heavy to be carried by a child, still, somehow or other, Krishna would bring it to his mother's lap. Sometimes his father, while worshipping Narayan, would ask him to bring his wooden slippers, and Krishna, with great difficulty, would put the slippers on his head and bring them to his father. All of you must have seen this famous painting where Krishna is carrying the slippers of Nanda Maharaj on his head like a little toddler. When he was asked to lift some heavy article and was unable to lift it, he would simply move his arms. In this way, daily at every moment, he was the reservoir of pleasure to his parents. The Lord was exhibiting such childish dealings with the inhabitants of Vrindavan because he wanted to show the great philosophers and sages searching after the absolute truth, how the supreme absolute truth, personality of Godhead, is controlled by the subject to the desires of his pure devotees. One day a fruit vendor came before the house of Nanda Maharaj. Upon hearing the vendor call, "If anyone wants fruits, please come and take them for me," Child Krishna immediately took some grains in his palms and went for the fruits in exchange. In those days, exchange was by barter. Therefore, Krishna might have seen his parents acquire fruits and other things by bartering grain, so he imitated. But his palms were very small, and he was not very careful to hold the grains tight, so he was dropping them. The vendor who came to sell fruits saw this and was very much captivated by the beauty of the Lord. So she immediately accepted whatever few grains were left in his palm and filled his hands with fruits. In the meantime, the vendor saw that her whole basket of fruit had become filled with jewels. The Lord is the bestower of all benedictions. If someone gives something to the Lord, he is not the loser. He is gainer by 1,000,000 times. So, okay, we shall carry on with our katha tomorrow at the same time. And I pray to Lord that you all have a blissful week ahead with your families. And please keep the Lord in the middle of all your activities and make your life sublime. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Shamita, for watching with me. Hari Bol.